Hey guys, how are you? Day 15, T28 challenge. So last video, I talked about some of the dangers of artificial sweeteners and how you should avoid those at all costs. Today, I promise you that I'd be talking about natural or quote unquote natural sweeteners and if you should be consuming them or not. So here's my take on natural sweeteners. Number one, if you're a person who has a lot of problems with hormone sensitivity, so being able to hear insulin, inability to lose weight, some of the other side effects like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglyceride. Even natural sweeteners can actually make this problem worse because even natural sweeteners can create this what's known as metabolic confusion. There's a few quote unquote natural sweeteners that are out there. Let's talk about some of the ones that are in a lot of health products today. So the first two would be erythritol and xylitol. These are considered sugar alcohols, meaning they have the carbs, but the body doesn't absorb them. Body doesn't digest them. So basically they go in as a sugar, they leave as a sugar. So there's no like digestion and they don't raise your blood sugar. Now this is actually used to sweeten a lot of things, toothpaste, natural chewing gum. It's also in some like naturally flavored beverages like Zevia, which is a soft drink. The thing with these is that if you're going to use them, remember that whole idea with metabolic confusion, number one, and number two, if you're going to use them, you don't want to use them in large amounts. And the reason why is because like some of the complaints we get from those xylitol and erythritol is that they can cause a lot of stomach upset. I know this is true in my case where, you know, if it's on the weekend and I'm going to have some Zevia or, a naturally sweetened soft drink, if I have like two of them, I start to get a really upset stomach. So they can cause some stomach upset. The other thing is where you want to look at where it's actually getting sourced from. So there's a lot of erythritol out there that's actually sourced from genetically modified corn, which automatically makes it not a good sweetener for you. That's my take on erythritol and xylitol. Now there's another one that's actually what I would prefer, and that's actually stevia. Stevia is actually an herb from South America, and so stevia is sweet, doesn't negatively affect your blood sugar. Just remember metabolic confusion though, and it doesn't really have any negative effects associated with stevia. You know, there's a lot of food manufacturers that have caught wind of how everyone is loving stevia. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll actually cut it or include in it things like dextrose, which can be sugar. They can also include it with artificial sweeteners. You just have to be careful where you're actually sourcing your stevia from. So I'm a fan of all the natural sweeteners. Biggest fan of actually stevia, but again, this is going to be in not large amounts. Again, if you have to sweeten everything, you have to go back to the fact and ask yourself the question, why do I want to sweeten everything? So I think actually avoiding all sweeteners even naturally for a while, and then slowly introducing maybe some of them, not as a staple of everyday life, but you know, if you're going to have a snack on the weekend, then definitely you want to start sweetening things with stevia. What about things like coconut sugar? Hey, it's natural, or agave nectar. What about like monk fruit extract, raw honey? Like, what about those things? Those are like a more natural form, but things like raw honey, maple sugar, things like that, they're still sugar. Now, when I say like, are they good or are they bad? There's a lot of things that I say like this. It's like neither up nor down. And a lot of it's going to depend on the actual person. So if you have blood pressure issues, triglyceride issues, insulin sensitivity issues, and things like that, avoid it. Maybe not avoid it for the rest of your life, but you definitely want to avoid it for the 28 days, but you also maybe consider it even after that. Now, if we have someone who comes in and they're, 18 years old, they are very insulin sensitive, they exercise quite a bit, doing things like raw honey, agave nectar, things like that, they're not going to have any problems with. They're not going to have any issues with. And it's just always good that if you're sweetening those things, that you're going to do it in moderation. Monk fruit extract, again, that's kind of like stevia. It's kind of like erythritol, xylitol. Again, this is also going through a process. It doesn't negatively affect your blood glucose levels. This is also something, though, that hasn't really been studied, obviously, long term for it. So the thing with sweeteners, if you can avoid it, it's always going to be best. Natural sweetener that I recommend is going to be stevia. Hope this makes sense. Make sure you go back and watch the video and talk about artificial sweeteners, how they cause metabolic confusion. Day 15 down, day 16. So I'm going to keep on plugging away. Have a great one.